解决这个问题。感谢美国人民团结一致，我们要团结一致战胜这一切。让我来给你们更新一下这个。现在他们有 N95 的口罩提供，并且专注于那些最需要关注的领域。就是防护个人防护的一些设备，还收到了很多的捐款，并且我们正在造大量的口罩，把这些急需的物资运到最需要的地方。我们看到很多人的创造力都显现出来，还看到我们这些州长们，还有这些科学家们，各个领域都显示出他们的创造力和创新能力。这个新的药和正在测试。所以这个联邦政府正在获取更多的这个药，就有效，被证明有效的药。
We think tomorrow pretty early the hydroxychloroquine and the Z-Pack. I think is a combination probably is looking very, very good, and it's going to be distributed. We have
所以大量的这些药物都会分发出去，并且可供使用。
And is now they already have it. They're going to distribute it tomorrow morning to a lot of people in New York City and New York. We're studying it very closely, watching it very closely.
所以你们如果看新闻的话，你们就知道有些文章。然后讲一位先生，他觉得自己已经挺不过去了，但是已经跟家人道别了。他觉得快要离世了。但是他醒来以后，感觉很好，并且渐渐恢复。所以就是这些有用的药物。所以在创纪录的时间内就挽救了生命。所以和这个 Stephen Hahn 医生，他们在积极的准备这些药物。还有 Remdesivir。这些正在测试的药，有的已经是现成的药，所以现在有很多的机会可以帮助大家战胜这个疾病。所以这是上帝赐予的礼物。这是可以改变这个状况的、扭转局面的这些药物。所以希望大家对这个感到满意。所以这个治疟疾的这个药物现在是证明有用、有效，可以抑制这个病情。
And there are those that say because this drug is very prevalent because of the malaria. So we'll see what happens. I'm also announcing that we're postponing the deadline for compliance with real ID requirements at a time when we're asking Americans to maintain social distancing. We do want to require people to go with their local DMV. We will be announcing the new deadline very soon. It's going to be announced in a very short moment. Overnight, we successfully brought home 103 American citizens after they had been stranded for 10 days in Brazil. Following a cruise, we want to thank the Brazilian government and their great president. Most of those returned were senior citizens. Administration cooperation with Governor
是
Greg Abbott of
德州州
Texas
长
and the
Abbott
private sector coordinated their safe return to the United States. So
欢迎
thank
这
you to
些
Governor
人来
Abbott.
到德州
Terrific governor, terrific man. Earlier today, I signed an executive order
来
invoking
隔离。
presidential authority under
我也
Section
签署了总统
4512 of the Defense Production Act to prohibit the hoarding of vital medical equipment and supplies, such as hand sanitizers,
所以我也
face masks, and personal protective
签署
equipment.
了
We have a lot of face masks, a lot of equipment is
决
coming in,
策来
and we have some people
制造
hoarding.
大量的
And Attorney General Barr is going to be
口
speaking
罩
about that in a，
防止
second.
大家
We want to
来
prevent price
囤
gouging,
积，还
and
有
critical health and medical resources are going to be protected
乱涨价。
in every form. Under this directive, the Secretary of
而且我
Health
们
and
的
Human Services is authorized
卫
to
生
designate essential health and medical
部分
supplies as
方面
scarce. So
很多
they'll
的重要的
designate
医疗物
certain
资，
supplies and medical
那
elements
些
as
崎岖的物
scarce.
资，
And that means it will be a crime to
这成为
stockpile
一个
these items in
犯罪。
excessive
如果大
quantities,
家
which is
囤积那
happening
些急需
to a
的医
relatively
疗
small
物资，
degree, we think, but nevertheless it's happening. We can't let it happen. And
我
we
们
can't
更不
let
能
them
允许
resell
他
them at
们
excessive
囤积
prices,
以
which
后
some
再
people
来
are doing.
高价出售。
Very simply, we will not allow anyone to exploit the
所以这个
suffering
时
of
候不
American
能
citizens for
因
their
为
own
这个
profit.
灾难
So we're
来
going to be watching that
获利。
with our great Attorney General very closely. The
那我们
Department of
的
Justice will be aggressively prosecuting
司法
fraudulent
系统
schemes
也会
related to the
对这
pandemic.
些
Yesterday, federal prosecutors took
因疫
action
情获利的
in their
人
first
而
case, shutting down a website
对
selling
他们起诉，
a totally fake
而且有人
vaccine.
还在
You can believe that
卖
one.
假的疫
As
苗，你
president,
能
I
相
will
信
always
吗？
fight to protect Americans from
所
being
以
exploited. Thankfully, all throughout the country,
我们
we're witnessing
大部
extraordinary
分
acts of compassion,
人都是
benevolence,
表示
and
了
unity.
同情和爱心，
Construction companies are donating masks by the hundreds
而
of
且
thousands.
很多人
Manufacturing workers are
正在
transforming
努力
their
工作，
assembly
生产
lines.
大量口罩，
Citizens are volunteering to deliver food and
并且
medicine
把那
to
些
the elderly.
药物和食
We're
品
truly seeing
送
America at
给
its best. We're
年
really
长
seeing
者。
things that people never thought even could happen.
我
Frankly, we
们
never
没
thought
有
this
预
could happen.
计到
But the
这样的
way
事情发生，
most Americans are working toward getting
而
it
且他
solved
们
and,
这些
and
善
just
心和
doing
善
what they
举
have to
也
do
是
to
出乎
make
我们
this
的
go
意料，
away has been incredible.
非常的
It's been
令人
incredible.
敬佩。
I
我
want to
这
take
个
a
时
moment
候
to thank the
我要
everyday
利用
heroes
这
who
个
are
机
making
会
our
向
vast
大家表
effort
示
against
感
the virus
谢，
possible.
并
And
且
thank
感
you
谢
to
那
the
些医
healthcare
护人
workers and the
员，
first
他们是
responders.
非
These
常
are
的
very
勇
brave
敢，
people.
并
Thanks
且他
also
们
to
这
the
努力工
hardworking men
作，
and women of
还有
Federal
那些
Express,
在邮政
UPS,
局、
United States Postal Service, and the truckers who are maintaining our
邮递工
supply
作
chains and
的人，
supply
还有
lines.
那些
We
生产
thank you
线
very
上的
much.
人们，
Great job.
向他们
We
表示
also
感
want to
谢，
give our
并
regards
且我
and
们要
thanks to
向
everyone
所
at
有
our
的在
grocery stores working the night shift so that
食品
shelves
店
can
工
be
作的人、
restocked,
百货店、
and the restaurant
超
workers
市
and
工作的
delivery
人
drivers
表示
keeping our
感
families
谢，
fed.
他们
So many of
加
these
班努
restaurants,
力
it's incredible. They're doing
来
service where people
充
come and
足
they
提供
pick it
充
up.
足的商品，
delivery. I mean, it's
他
been
们做
incredible
了
what
非
they've been
常棒
doing.
的工作。
Totally different business than they were in. Other than they cook food. Other than that, it's like a totally different business.
最重要
Most
的，
of all,
我
I
也
want
要
to thank the
感
American
谢美
people
国
for
人
rising
民
to the challenge
来
and showing incredible courage,
勇敢的面对
determination,
这个
patience,
困
grace,
难。
and grit. From New York
从
to
纽
Seattle
约到
and
西雅
everywhere in
图
between, your
及
acts
他们
of selflessness and
期间
sacrifice
的
and
所有的州的
ingenuity
人
are
民，
powerful testament
这
to the
显示了
American
美国
character.
的
It's really
性
being
格，
shown. It's really
美
showing
国
up at a
人好的
level that
品质。
people are really respecting all over the
所以
world. They're respecting, and the world has problems. We're at 148 countries now.
全世界有
148 countries are affected
148个
by
国
the
家受到疫情影响，
invisible scourge.
所
And
以
all of
我
the
们这
uplifting
个
reflections
非
of the
常感人
American
的、非
spirit
常
are out there for
振奋
everyone
人
to
心的
see.
这
Together
种
we
举
will
动，
care for our fellow
显
citizens,
示
and
了
we
我
will
们
win
的
this
优
war,
良
and
品
we'll win
质，
it
我们一定会赢得这场战争。
much sooner than people think. And we'll be back in business as a country pretty soon. You'll be hearing about that
恢复正
also
常。
pretty soon. Now I'd like to
下
ask
面
Attorney
我就
General
要
Bill Barr to say a few words, and
让
we'll
司
take
法部长
questions
来
in a little while. Thank you.
说几句话。 好，现在是司法部长在讲话。让我首先感谢总统和副总统对他们的决策而感谢。司法部努力保护美国人民的安全和健康，所以我要感谢我所有的同仁，不光是在这个在各个领域哈，不光是地方领域还有这个联邦的领域的同仁，我向他们感谢。我现在要讲几句有关总统所说的，刚才所说的有关囤积紧急物资。所以在总统发出了这个紧急命令，有关有关这些重要的物资，然后我们看到了一些囤积和哄抬物价，所以政府给我们权力来阻止和惩罚这些囤积和抬高物价。这些所有急需的物资，或者是短缺，或者它的囤积会造成他人危险，所以这些物资应该被严禁囤积。如果他们只是为了重新以高价出售，这是一种犯罪。所以今天总统发的行政命令给我们这个权利来防止囤积和哄抬物价。所以司法部要找到这些罪犯，并且做出决定。现在我们要讲这些供应链的问题。所以我们每个司法部的分部在那个每个区都负责来起诉这些案件。我们已经收到了这些证据，还有这些不法行为，他们已经影响了这个供应链。所以我们不是讲正常的运作，而是讲个人囤积了大量的物品。如果你家里囤了很多手纸，你不要着急。我们主要是说这个讲这个口罩，你会有人来敲你的门，如果你囤了很多的口罩。好，谢谢。
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
他说
To
我
start, I want to really
感
thank all the
谢所
ministers
有
of
的
health around the
人
world who have been sending us their
为
data
我们
despite
提
the
供数
fight that they're
据
in themselves,
特别
particularly
是
our
我们
European
的欧
colleagues.
洲的
They
伙
continue to
伴
send us primarily their
给我们
mortality
很
data,
多
which is
重
really
要
very
的
critical
信息，
because when you're in the midst of
还有
this
是这种
level of
死
fight
亡
that
率
many of the
等
European
等。
countries are following
这些死亡
mortality
率
data will give
给
you
了
the
我
best
们
insight right now
足够
on
的
how
信
the
息，
epidemic is
让我们
proceeding in
了
those
解到
countries because they really can't be testing at
这
the
个疫
level
情，
to really understand
并
the
且
depth
让
and
我们
breadth
更
of
好
their new
的
cases.
知道这个
In the
深度和广
mortality
度
data
的
that
影
has
响
been
范围
provided。to us, there has been no
他
child
说
under 15 that has succumbed to the virus in
有
Europe.
有
There
的
was the one
十
14-year-old
十
in
五岁
China.
以
So
下
we
还是
still
有
see that
青
there's
少
less
年
severity
受到
in
这个疫
children.
情影
And so
响
that。should be reassuring to the moms and dads out there. To Generation
他只
C
是
and
说
to my millennial colleagues who have been
对
really
这
at the
个
forefront
90
of
零
many of these
后、00
responses,
后，
less than 1% of all the
他
mortality
说
is
这
less
个
than 50. And
死
so
亡
this is, I
率
think, also a
是
very important point. That
小于
doesn't
50%
mean that individuals won't
但是
have
并不
severe
是
disease.
说
So still 99% of all the mortality coming out of Europe
不是说
in
不会
general
有，
is over 50
而大部
and
分的
pre-existing
死亡
conditions.
的
The
人数还是
pre-existing
因
condition
为
piece still
已
holds
有
in
的
Italy,
健
with
康
the
问题，
majority of the mortality having 3 or more pre-existing conditions.
所
I
以
think
这
this is
是
reassuring
给
to
我
all
们
of us, but it
一
doesn't
丝丝
change
的
the need to continue to protect the
嗯
elderly. And in order to protect
安
the
慰，
elderly, we
但
all
是我
need to
们还是要
continue
保
to
护
do the
我们
president's
的
directives and guidance for the next week of the
老年
15-day
的
challenge.
人口。
Finally, I
最
wanted
后
to
我
really
要告
close by
诉
thanking the
我要
laboratory
感谢那
personnel that have
些
been at
在
the
那个
front
实验
line.
室工作的人们，
250,000 tests have been run
有
in
很
the
多
last 7 days. This happened because
检
these
测在
large
进
commercial
行，
laboratories
他
are
们
doing round-the-clock
日
runs.
复一
And
日的在
remember,
日以
all
继
of
夜
them
的在
are
努
being
力工
exposed to
作，
the virus in the same way from the swabs. Yet
他们
tirelessly, they have worked on and
把
on
很
to
多
get
的
those
检测
results
的结
available.
果
They are still getting more tests than they
他
can
们
run per day.
这的超负荷运
That's
行，
because we were primarily expanded into the what we call the Roche high throughput tri-core machine.
所以这些
Those
检
results
测
have been
的
getting to
结
the
果
clients, and we've
都被
asked them to
送到
prioritize
那
hospitalized
些
patients.
需要的人
There was
手
a
中。
breakthrough today, and I think you'll see this from the FDA.
还有
And for all of those of you who are
还有
waiting for
很多人
self-swabbing
在
options,
等待
those are going to be
自我检
available
测。
in
你知道
sometime this
这
week
周的
to be
某
able to
个时间就
individuals do their
会
own tests. That said,
可以分
remember
发，
these platforms are keeping up with those who need to
还
be
有的
diagnosed in the
人需要
hospitals and those who come to the
去医院
emergency room
检
quite
测。
ill so that hospital beds can be freed up for
如
those
果
that don't
你
have COVID. So that will be
不
critical
需
that
要
if you
检
don't
测
need a
的
test
话
and if it doesn't change your clinical
不
course,
要
do not
来
come in
医
to be
院
tested.
检
And I
测。
think that mortality data that I gave you should be
所
very
以刚才我
reassuring
所
to
说的
all
应
of
该
you.
让你
Finally, to
有
conclude,
心安一
New
些。
York City. The New
在
York metro
纽约
area
就
of
是
New Jersey, New York City, and parts of Long Island
大纽约
have
地
an
区，
attack rate close to 1 in 1,000.
所
This
以这
is
里的
5
疫情非
times
常
what
的
the other areas are
严重，
seeing.
是5倍
There,
于其
through the
他
high
地
throughput lab
区的严
investigations,
重
we're
性。
finding that 28%
他
of the
说
submitted
20%
specimens are
上
positive from
交
that
的这
area,
些检
where
测
it's
里
less than
面都
8%
是
in the rest of the country. So to
被
all
证
of my
实
friends
感
and
染。
colleagues in New York, this is the group that
所
needs to
以我们一定要
absolutely
在大纽
social
约地区
distance
保
and
持这个每个人
self-isolate
的
at
距
this
离。
time. Clearly, the virus had been circulating
所以
there for
这
a number
些
of weeks to have this level of penetrance
就说明
into
这个
the
疫情已
general
经传播了
community.
一阵子了，所以才有这么多的人感染在大纽约地区。
Thank you, Mr.
好，
President.
现在是副总统彭斯
The White House Coronavirus Task
他说
Force met
这个疫
today.
情抗疫
We
情
also
特
convened at
特
the
别的
President's direction
小组
a conference call
今
with
天
the
举
nation's
行
governors, and we focused
会
on
议
efforts
他
at
说我们
mitigation
在跟每个州的州长
testing
等都
and supplies.
沟通了
We。discussed the President's
说
recent approval of disaster
在华
declarations
盛
for
顿已
Washington,
经宣布
and
了
California and New York.
紧急状
But
况
we，also assured governors who've
并
submitted
且
major
很
disaster
多地
declarations
方
that we
都
will be
想要
reviewing them in an expeditious
宣
manner
布这个紧
to
急
ensure
状
the
况，
full resources the
所以
federal
我们
government
就要
brought to bear. The President
保
wanted us
证
to
这
make
个
it clear that
联邦
the
政
federal
府能
government will do
够
whatever it
提
takes
供
to support an effort that is locally executed, state
及时
managed,
的帮助。
and federally supported.
他说，
We
我
reiterated
并
that
且
to
告
our
诉所
governors
有的
today,
州长，
listened to them about their
根据他们
specific
不同的需
needs,
求，
and
我
frankly
们
made it clear to them
明
that while the President
清
has
楚地表
published
明，
at coronavirus.gov the
我们
15
有一
days
个
to
计
slow the
划，
spread
要
of
15天
every
来
American,
减
and
缓这个
millions
疫
of
情的
Americans
传
are
播。
addressing
所以我们就可以
these
我们就
common
可以
sense
用
guidelines to prevent
这个
the
我们的
spread
这
of the
个
coronavirus in the days
这个自己的
ahead.
常
We
识
made it
哈
clear to the
来保护
governors
自
that
己。
this president and this administration fully supports
所以我们
decisions that
的
governors are making
联邦
in
政府，我们的总
communities
统
and
完
states that
全
are
支持
particularly
每个
impacted
州
by
长的
the
决
spread
定，
of the coronavirus, and we are grateful
极
for
感谢他
their
们的努
efforts.
力。我们
We
也
also
和
spoke to the
州
governors about the
长说了
importance of the
他们的
legislation that
努
is
力，
currently being negotiated on Capitol Hill, and asked them
并
to
且
encourage members of the House and the
鼓
Senate to
励
move
那
very
我
quickly.
们
The
的
bill that is currently
国会
being
议员们马
negotiated, the
上
President
尽快
said
的
that he
通
believes
过
will
这
be
个
resolved soon, and we're encouraged by
相
it.
关
We'll
的
speed
法令，
direct payments to families.
来
The
帮
average
助每
family
个
of
家
four
庭，
will
比如
receive
说4口之家就会
$3,000
收到
directly. There'll be
3000块
payroll
的
subsidies for
补助，
small businesses
并
around
且
America to keep
让那
people
个
on the payroll while they might be
小
required
业
to
主
stay
不
home.
要倒
Unemployment
闭，并且
insurance
继续
benefits,
付工资，
assistance to hospitals and major
并
industries.
且我
And
们
we continue to urge
要
the
求国
Congress to
会继
act
续努力，
and
让
ask the
州长
governors to
们
engage their delegations. On the
来
subject
有
of
这
testing,
个
we reiterated our
继
thanks
续
to
努力。
states across the country that are
他说
rapidly
我们的
expanding
检
testing
测现在
at
已经
drive-through sites,
越来越
at
多
community
的
sites.
可以
And
提供
as
给
Dr.
人
Birx
们
just
检测
reflected,。because
现
of
在
the,
有就开
because
车
of the
就
unprecedented public and
开车的
private
那种检
partnership
检测的中
that
心
the president initiated with our commercial labs.
我们今
We
天
stand here today with 313,000 tests having been completed, with the
有
test results
30多
delivered
万
to
都已
Americans,
经
and
完成了检测，
still somewhat more than 41,000 have contracted
但是现在已经
coronavirus.
有
But
好
this
几万人
state-run
都
effort is continuing to receive the full support of our team
被
at
证实
FEMA
已经
and
感
at
染
the。U.S. Public Health Service. We're deploying
我
personnel,
们
we're
已
deploying
经派出
resources,
了
and
人
testing
力
is
和物
literally
力
expanding
来
around the country by the hour.
控制疫
As
情。
Dr. Burse also mentioned,
这个
the FDA
FDA
has
这
been in
药
the
监
process of
局
reviewing less
他
invasive
们
methods
Yeah.
of testing. The President and I both reflected on the fact that we have been tested, and
他说我
we've
们这
been
个
working with
总
the
统、副总
FDA
统
to,
都已经
to
被
make
检
it
测过
possible
了
for
这个
self-collected
冠状病
nasal
毒，他们
swabs, where
没有
individuals
事。
could, at the end of their nasal
他说
passage, collect a sample.
我会
And
收集更多
I'm
的
pleased to report that self-collected swabs can now be collected in clinics and at drive-through testing
来
sites. This will
更多的
expedite the testing
检测
process,，of
而
course,
且可以开
but it will
车，
also reduce the risk to
有那种
healthcare
开车
providers for
可以
exposure
检
to
测
the
的地方，这
coronavirus,
可以
and
减轻
it
医护
will
人
minimize
员
the
的负
drain
担
on。personal protective equipment. With the current test that goes pretty significantly up the nasal passage,
他
people
说
have to
现
wear
在的
gear
这
and then
个
change out the gear. And this new self-administered
检
test
测
will
目前的
actually
检
not
测是
require
比较
the
需要那
drain
个
on personal protective
专业
equipment,
人
and
员
it's all
参
a
与
part
的，
of our
要
effort.
但是有一个
As
自我检
Admiral
测的
Polovchek
这
will
个
discuss in just a few moments. To
试
meet
剂
the
很快
supply
就
needs
会
that we
分发，
have
这样
across
就
the
可以
country,
在自己在
but
家
to
里
meet
检
them
测
with
了。
efforts at conservation as well.
好，有
On the
关检
subject
测
of，testing, it's important to remember, as the old
就
book
像
says, it is not the healthy who need a doctor,
注
but
意，
the
就
sick.
像那个我们
And
常
so,
说的，
if you don't have
健
symptoms,
康
you
人不
don't
需要
need
到
to get
医
a
生，只有那
coronavirus
些病人
test.
需要哈。
We
所以
encourage
我们鼓
every
励
American to
每个
adhere to that so that the testing
鼓励每个
resources
美
are
国
available
人
for
都
people
要遵
that are
循这个
symptomatic.
常识。
We also will be issuing today from Health and
我
Human
们也
Services new
发布了
guidance
新的规
to
定，
direct all
让所
commercial
有
labs
的
to
商
prioritize
业的这
testing
些
for
实
hospitalized
验
patients.
实验
And
室
that guidance is
都
going out tonight.
让他们
We also reminded the governors today that all state laboratories, all
把
hospital
那个重点
laboratories are
放在
now
这些
required
检
by
测
law
上，
to report the results of coronavirus tests.
并且把这个
to the
检测
CDC.
结果
On the
汇报给
subject of
CDC。
supplies, in our meeting today
我们也跟
at
那个
FEMA, we received a report of the new supply chain stabilization
合
task
作
force. Rear Admiral John Polovchek is leading that
在
up
FEMA
at FEMA, and the task force is working to
他
identify
们
medical
就会
supplies that exist in the marketplace today, to evaluate the
检测一
national
下
stockpile,
国
and also
现在目
working
前
with
已有的这
industries
个物
around the
资，
country to
然后
produce
再
even more of the critical medical supplies.
预计
And as
需
the
要
president
有
said, businesses
多
across
少需
America
要
are stepping up, and maybe
提供
as never before in
还有
our
多少
history.
短缺等等。
3M, in fact, has diverted 500,000
现在我们
N95
有
masks from
50
commercial
万
customers, and they're being delivered
这
today
个
to New
N95
York
的口
and
罩
Seattle.
正在送往纽
Facebook, we would
约。
acknowledge, has donated their
给医护
emergency
人员，
reserve of over
我们又
700,000
收到了
N95
很
masks
多的
to healthcare
N95 的
workers,
口
and these
罩，
are just
就
a few
给
examples
医
of
护
the
人员，
generosity of businesses.
这是捐
We're
助。
also seeing companies step forward to
我也
repurpose
看
their
到
manufacturing
工厂正在改
facilities
变他们的
to
生产
create
线来生
ventilators, to
产这些
create
急需的
equipment.
物资。
And I know I speak for
我
the
们
President
非
when I say how
常
grateful
感
and
激，
proud we
并
are for them.
且为他
We
们
also
骄傲。
discussed with the governors a real breakthrough on the availability
也
of
对那个
ventilators.
这个呼
We
吸
called on the
器
governors to
有
survey
突
all
破。
outpatient
他说，所
surgical
有
centers
的
and hospital operating rooms because surgical
在所有
ventilators
的
that
这个医院做手术的医
anesthesiologists
院
use
等等，
because of an FDA decision
然后
rendered this last weekend, those can be
其实有
easily
很
converted
多
now to ventilators
已
that
有
can
的
be
一
used
些
for people
设备可
struggling
以
with severe illness from the coronavirus.
可以改
And
装
so we
成这个
called
呼
on
吸
our
器，
governors in conversations with state leaders
所以
to
我们
to
要
survey all
做
of
一
their
个调
surgical
查，就
centers
看我们
and
目前
hospital
有
operating
多少
rooms
这
to
样的设
identify that
备
equipment, and with
可
the new
以
FDA
改
guidelines,
装成
they'll be able to
呼吸
convert
机。
those to help meet the
这就
needs
是
of
帮助
ventilators
我
across the
们解
country.
决这个呼吸
We are now
器
8 days
短
into
缺
the
问题，
president's 15
并且
days to
我们
slow
有
the
一个
spread. The American
计
people
划，
are
这个
rising to
14
the
天
challenge.
来，
We're doing this. But in the
减缓
days
疫
that
情。
remain between now and the end of the 15 days,
所以我们需要
we're going to
每
need
个美
every
国
American
人
to
都
take this
要
seriously.
参
Listen to
与
your state and
积
local
极
health
配合
authorities where there may be additional and
我
stronger
们
guidance
也
in
许
areas
在
where the
某
coronavirus
些
spread has been
重
more
疫
severe.
重
But for every
严
American,
情
know
况
that
严重的
the
疫
part
区
that
有
you do, that
更
your family
严的
does,
手
that
段，
you
但
do in your
是
community to put into practice these principles
大
of
家其实只
social
要
distancing, using a drive-through
保
at the
证这
local
个
restaurant,
保持人与人之
will
间
make
的
an
距
enormous
离，
difference in lowering
这样
the
做一些比较
trajectory
简单的事情，
of
就
the
可
coronavirus
以
spreading across
减
our
缓
country.
这个疫
It's going
情
to take all
的
of us,
传
but
播
with。the ongoing cooperation of the American
我们
people,
也
with compassion,
感谢美
with
国
the
人
ingenuity
对
of,
此
of American
这个反
industry,
应，
with dedicated leadership at the state
在
and
这个
federal level.
疫情中
I know
表
that we
现
can
出
slow the
来的
spread,
这个
we can protect our most vulnerable, and we will
创
heal
造
our
力
land.
和这个所有的
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So I'm
做的
Lieutenant
非常好
General
的工
Polachek.
作。好，下
I'm
一
the
下
Supply
一
Chain
位，
Task Force Lead
这是 FEMA
at
的
FEMA.
官
My
员，
task is to
这是
increase the supply of
他
critical
说有关
medical supplies, which include personal
这个
protective
重
equipment.
重要物资来保护人的重
I
要
just
物
want to
资，
take
比如
a
说，
few moments
他说
to
刚才已
explain the
经
organization
讲了我
that
们
we've
这个
stood
州
up this week, these last few days.
哦，在过
and
去
our-
几
and
天
our，approach.
这
So
是
you
有
have a
一
chart
个
behind me. I have a focused, two
这有
focus
一
leads.
个，
One
他
on
说
personal
有
protective
个人保
equipment,
护的，
medical supplies, and
还
a
有
focus
这
lead
个
on
个
ventilators.
个人保护的这些，
Operating under
像
four
口罩
lines
之
of
类
effort.
的，还有这
First
个
line
呼
of
吸
effort you
器
see
等等。
is preservation, and the leaders tonight have talked about that ability to
所以
make our
我们
stuff
要
last longer.
运用有现有的物资，让他们能
We have a
够
team of people that are searching the globe
持久
for
的，能够
personal
更长
protective
久的
equipment,
可以使用。
figuring out where it is, figuring out if we need to buy it or
所以
just
我们
transport it and get it
现
here
在
fast.
要
We have a
知道
line of effort
要么我们
for
是购买，还
reallocation.
是运用
We're
现有
working with
的，
our industry partners to illuminate the
并且我
supply
们
chain.
要
There are many
重
vendors,
启很多的生
many
产线，
distributors, all on separate system. Nobody has one site picture
但是
for that supply chain.
很
We've
多
brought our
人
industry
并不
partners
了
in,
解那些生产线，
weaving that
所以
together
我
to
们
make better
一定
allocation
要
decisions and understand where it is
把整
and
个
where it needs to go. We have a line called
整个
expansion.
的社会
You've
调
heard
动
some of
起
that
来，
today.
把让我们能
If
够
those that
协
have
作。
wanted to convert plants,
有
those
很
that
多
want to
人
get into the
想
business, we have the tools to
参与
help
这
them
个
to do that.
这种制
Two
造，
focus areas
这种
right now,
我
PPE
们有很多
and ventilators.
工具来帮
Four
助
lines
你
of effort
开展
working the problem of the task to get more here and increase the supplies.
这样可以解决这个紧要物资的短缺。好，现在川普又回来了。
today crossed 100 for the first time. This morning, your Surgeon General on the Today Show said he wanted Americans to understand that this is going to get really bad. Do you share that prognosis?
有一位医师说，这个疫情会是相当的严重。总统说，当然这是非常严重的。他说现在已经死了5万多人，但是我们的努力让这个疫情减少这个死